Look, I know what you're thinking. Skibidi Toilet. That weird meme thing kids are obsessed with. Yeah, that one. And I'm about to tell you something that's going to make every parent watching this video stop what they're doing right now. Because this isn't just about weird internet content anymore. This is about real psychological damage happening to kids across America and honestly, across the world. So here's what's happening. Psychology Times UK just published research that's making waves in the parenting community, and it's not good news. They found that Skibidi Toilet videos are actually triggering genuine anxiety disorders in children. We're not talking about kids being a little freaked out. We're talking about clinical anxiety, real phobias, the kind of stuff that requires therapy. And before you think this is some rare thing, just one or two cases, let me stop you right there. Parents all over Reddit, parenting forums, Facebook groups, you name it, they're reporting hundreds, literally hundreds of cases where their kids flat out refuse to use the toilet after watching this stuff. We're talking about kids who were totally fine, completely potty trained, doing great, and then boom, they see Skibidi Toilet content, and suddenly they won't go near a bathroom. Now, I know some of you are probably like, come on, it's just a cartoon. Kids get scared of stuff all the time, they get over it. But here's the thing, this is different, and the research backs it up. So let me break down exactly what's happening in your kid's brain when they watch this content, and why it's causing way more damage than you think. First off, let's talk about what makes Skibidi Toilet so disturbing on a psychological level. Child psychologists have been studying this, and what they found is pretty wild. Those distorted facial features, those singing heads coming out of toilets, they're not just creepy, they're triggering what's called a primal fear response in children's brains. And this isn't something kids can just logic their way out of. Here's the deal. Young children, especially kids under 6 years old, their brains aren't fully developed yet. They literally cannot distinguish between fiction and reality the way we can as adults. When you and I watch something on a screen, even if it's scary, we know it's not real. We know it can't hurt us. Our brains have that filter. Kids don't have that filter yet. It hasn't developed. So when a 5-year-old sees a singing head emerging from a toilet on their iPad, their brain doesn't process it as fake. It processes it as real. Their brain is literally registering this as a legitimate threat. Like their nervous system is going into fight or flight mode, because as far as their brain is concerned, there really are heads in toilets that could hurt them. And it gets worse. Those unnatural smiles, those warped faces that are kind of human but not quite right. Psychologists have a term for that. It's called the uncanny valley effect. And it's one of the most powerful fear triggers in human psychology. Basically, when something looks almost human but something's off about it, our brains go haywire. We have an instinctive, deep discomfort response to it. It's probably evolutionary, right? Like our ancestors needed to identify threats that were disguised as human or something. So you take that uncanny valley effect, you combine it with a child's inability to separate fiction from reality, and you add in the fact that toilets are something kids interact with multiple times every single day, and you've got a perfect storm for creating lasting trauma. That's not hyperbole. That's what the research shows. Now let's get into the actual symptoms that parents are reporting, and this is where it gets really concerning. Find My Kids, which is a major child safety research organization, they documented specific behavioral changes in kids exposed to this content. And we're not just talking about being a little nervous. Kids are straight up refusing to transition from using a potty to using a regular toilet. Like they were ready, they were doing great, and then suddenly they want nothing to do with the big toilet. Parents are reporting their kids screaming, absolute meltdowns when they try to flush the toilet, even if the kid isn't using it. Just the sound of the flush sends them into panic mode. Public restrooms? Forget about it. Parents are saying their kids will hold it for hours, to the point where it's painful, rather than use a public bathroom. They'll refuse to go at school, at restaurants, at their friends' houses. And in really severe cases, kids are holding their waste for dangerously long periods of time because they're too scared to use any toilet at all. And here's what people need to understand. This isn't just kids being dramatic. This isn't just a phase they'll grow out of on their own. Some of these children are developing actual clinical phobias, the kind that require professional intervention. We're talking about cognitive behavioral therapy, working with child psychologists, the whole 9 yards. One case that was documented showed an 8-month struggle. 8 months of a kid being terrified of bathrooms, needing therapy, all because of exposure to Skibidi Toilet content. And look, I get it. Some parents are probably watching this thinking, okay, but my kid seems fine. They watch it and they laugh and they think it's funny. But here's what you need to know. Not every kid shows symptoms immediately. Some kids seem totally fine until something triggers it. Maybe they see a particular episode that's more disturbing. Maybe they watch it late at night and have a nightmare. Maybe they're in a vulnerable state already for some other reason, and then this content just pushes them over the edge. The point is, you don't know which kid is going to be affected until it happens. And by then, you're dealing with a phobia that could last months or years if it's not handled properly. Is it really worth the risk? Now let's talk about something most parents don't even think about. The physical health consequences of bathroom avoidance, because it's not just a psychological issue. When kids start avoiding bathrooms because they're scared, it creates real medical problems, like documented medical problems that pediatricians are seeing more and more of. Urinary tract infections. You know what causes UTIs in kids? Holding urine for too long. When kids delay going to the bathroom because they're afraid, bacteria builds up. The urinary tract gets infected, and if you've ever had a UTI, you know how painful that is. Now imagine being a little kid dealing with that. And the worst part? UTIs can lead to kidney problems if they're not treated properly. We're talking about long-term health consequences from a stupid internet meme. Constipation is another huge issue. Kids who avoid bathrooms end up holding their bowel movements, and that causes serious constipation. And chronic constipation in children can lead to all kinds of problems. Hemorrhoids. Children may require medical treatment or intervention to address serious complications from chronic constipation, because they've held it so long that their body can't function normally anymore. Bladder control issues are also on the rise. Pediatricians are reporting increases in bedwetting, daytime accidents, and loss of bladder control in kids who previously had no problems. Why? Because when kids hold their urine repeatedly due to fear, it can actually damage the bladder's ability to function properly. The signals get mixed up, the muscles don't work right, and then you've got a kid who was fully potty trained suddenly having accidents again. And let's be real for a second. The psychological impact of that, a kid who was proud of being a big kid, being potty trained, using the toilet like a grown-up, and then suddenly they're having accidents again? That's humiliating for them. That affects their self-esteem. That can lead to anxiety, depression, behavioral issues at school. It's a domino effect. So when we're talking about Skibidi Toilet causing bathroom phobias, we're not just talking about kids being scared. We're talking about real medical complications, real physical health problems that could affect these kids for years if they're not addressed early. Now here's what child development experts are saying, and you need to listen to this part, because this is the warning. This is what every parent needs to hear. The recommendation from pretty much every child psychologist and child development specialist who's looked at this: prevent exposure entirely for children under 7 years old. Just don't let them watch it. Period. And I know some parents are going to push back on that. They're going to say, well, my kid already watches it, or all their friends watch it, or it's too late to prevent it. But here's the thing. Even if your kid has already been exposed, the absolute worst thing you can do is let them continue watching it. Because every additional exposure reinforces that fear response. It makes it stronger. It makes it harder to undo. For kids who are already affected, who are already showing signs of bathroom anxiety, experts recommend gradual desensitization. And that's a fancy term, but basically it means slowly, carefully helping the kid understand that real toilets are safe. You do this by making the bathroom feel like a protected space. Some parents decorate the bathroom with their kids' favorite characters. Some parents sit with their kid while they use the toilet, just to provide that sense of safety. Some families start with having the kid just be in the bathroom without using it, then gradually work up to actually using the toilet. The key is avoiding any further exposure to the content, zero exposure, because you can't desensitize a kid to real toilets while they're still being exposed to scary fictional toilets. It doesn't work. You're just undoing all the progress. And look, I want to be clear about something. This isn't parents overreacting. This isn't helicopter parenting. This isn't being too sensitive or too protective. This is documented developmental harm. This is real psychological damage that's being studied by actual researchers and treated by actual therapists. The evidence is there. The cases are documented. This is not a drill. Psychology Times UK didn't publish that research for fun. They published it because it's a public health concern, because enough cases have been reported and studied that the medical community is taking notice. When respected psychological journals are publishing papers about a meme causing anxiety disorders in children, that should tell you everything you need to know about how serious this is. And here's what frustrates me. There are parents out there who know this is harmful, who've seen the research, who've read the reports, and they're still letting their kids watch it. Why? Because the kid throws a fit when you take it away. Because all their friends watch it. Because it keeps the kid quiet for half an hour. And I get it. Parenting is hard. Sometimes you just need a break. But there are literally thousands of other videos your kid could watch that won't traumatize them. You wouldn't let your kid watch a horror movie and then be surprised when they had nightmares. You wouldn't show your 5-year-old The Exorcist and then wonder why they are scared of their bedroom. But somehow, because Skibidi Toilet is a meme, because it's on YouTube, because other kids are watching it, parents think it's fine. It's not fine. It's causing the same kind of psychological distress that age-inappropriate horror content causes. The format doesn't matter, the impact is the same. And for the parents who are watching this thinking, well, my kid is older, they're 8 or 9 or 10, they can handle it. Maybe, but ask yourself this, is your kid showing any changes in bathroom behavior? Are they taking longer in the bathroom than they used to? Are they nervous about public restrooms? Are they asking you to check the toilet before they use it? Because those are early warning signs. Those are red flags that something's not right. The other thing I want to address is the social pressure kids feel around this. Because a lot of kids watch Skibidi Toilet because their friends watch it. It's what everyone's talking about at school. And if your kid doesn't watch it, they feel left out. They feel like they're not part of the group, and I get that. Social belonging is important, especially for kids. But you know what else is important? Not developing a phobia that requires months of therapy to overcome. So here's what you do. You have a conversation with your kid. You explain in age-appropriate terms that some videos can make our brains scared even when we don't mean to be scared. You tell them that just because something is popular doesn't mean it's good for us. You give them alternative content that they can watch and talk about with their friends. You help them understand that it's okay to be different from their friends if it means taking care of their mental health. And for parents whose kids are already struggling with bathroom anxiety because of this content, please get professional help if you need it. There's no shame in talking to a pediatrician or a child psychologist. These professionals have tools and strategies that actually work. They can help your kid recover faster and more completely than if you try to handle it on your own. Early intervention is key. The sooner you address it, the better the outcome. I also want to talk to parents who might be in denial about this, because I know there are people watching this video who are thinking, not my kid. My kid is tough. My kid can handle anything, and maybe that's true. But the research shows that even resilient kids can be affected by this type of content. Intelligence doesn't protect against it. Toughness doesn't protect against it. Having a strong personality doesn't protect against it. Because we're talking about developmental neuroscience here. We're talking about how young brains process fear and threat. That's not something willpower or personality can override. So if you're sitting there thinking your kid is immune, I'm asking you to really pay attention to their behavior over the next few weeks. Watch for changes. Watch for avoidance. Watch for anxiety. Because by the time the symptoms are obvious, the problem is already established. The earlier you catch it, the easier it is to fix. Now let's talk about the content creators making this stuff. Because most of them have no idea they're causing harm. They're just making memes. They're trying to be funny or weird or viral. But the impact is real, regardless of intent. And honestly, there needs to be more awareness in the content creation community about the potential harm of this type of content to young viewers. YouTube's algorithm doesn't care about child psychology. It cares about watch time and engagement. So this content gets pushed to kids, whether it's appropriate or not. And that's another conversation we need to have as a society, about platform responsibility, about age gating, about parental controls that actually work. But that's a whole other video. For now, what you need to know as a parent is that you can't rely on platforms to protect your kid. You have to be the one monitoring what they watch. You have to be the one setting boundaries. You have to be the gatekeeper. I know that's exhausting. I know it feels like one more thing to worry about in an already overwhelming world. But this is one of those times where the research is clear and the solution is simple. Don't let young kids watch Skibidi Toilet. If they've already been exposed and they're showing symptoms, stop the exposure immediately and start the desensitization process. And if the problem is severe, get professional help. That's it. That's the action plan. The bottom line is this: Skibidi Toilet is not harmless. It's not just a silly meme. It's content that's causing documented psychological harm to children. Bathroom phobias are real. The physical health consequences are real. The need for therapy is real. And all of this is preventable if parents just take this seriously and act on it. So here's my call to action for everyone watching this. Share this video with every parent you know. Share it in your mum groups. Share it on your Facebook. Share it with your kids' school. Because there are parents out there who have no idea this is happening. There are parents who think Skibidi Toilet is harmless because their kid hasn't shown symptoms yet. There are parents who need to see the research, who need to understand the mechanism, who need to know what to watch for. Early intervention prevents long-term phobias. That's what the experts say. That's what the research shows. So the more parents who are aware of this, the more kids we can protect. The more kids we can help before the problem becomes severe. And honestly, that's what this is about. It's not about being alarmist. It's not about banning all internet content. It's about giving parents the information they need to make informed decisions about what their kids consume. Because at the end of the day, you're the parent. You're the one who knows your kid best. You're the one who's going to have to deal with the consequences if something goes wrong. So take this information, use it, and make the choice that's right for your family. But make it an informed choice. Make it based on research and evidence, not on what's popular or what other kids are doing. Your kid's mental health is too important to leave to chance. Their physical health is too important to risk. And their development is too precious to let a stupid meme derail. So be the parent who takes this seriously. Be the parent who protects their kid even when it's not popular. Be the parent who looks back in 5 years and knows they did the right thing. That's what this is about. That's what matters. Protect your kids. Share this video. And let's put an end to this nightmare before more children are harmed.